I, Abdi Ahmed Mohamud, do solemnly swear that the evidence that I shall give before this Senate in respect of the matters before the Senate shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Thank you.
So, Mr. Abdi, introduce yourself to the Senate, the place you work, your rank, and how many years you've worked in that institution.
Thank you. My name is Abdi Mohamud. I'm the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. I have worked at the Commission since 2005. I started off as a senior investigator. Right now, I'm the Deputy Chief Executive Officer. My main responsibilities are to assist the Chief Executive Officer of the Commission in the day-to-day running of the Commission, among others. Another key role and responsibility that I hold at the Commission is that I chair the Commission Management Committee on Investigation Evaluation. Basically, I have been an investigator since 2005 when I joined the Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mahmoud. You are before the Senate this morning following summonses which were issued to your institution. And in the summonses, the 3 areas were identified. Would you wish to appraise the Senate on those 3 areas which you are to guide the Senate on?
Okay. If I may refer to my documents.
Yes, you can.
Thank you. So there are 3 areas that I was requested to comment on. The first one is long-lasting insecticide nets at the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency, KEMSA. The second issue that I was to comment on is the declaration of gifts and donations received by His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, the Deputy President, during his tenure of the office to date, pursuant to Section 14(5) of the Leadership and Integrity Act. The third issue that I was to comment on is the declaration of conflict of interest made to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission by His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, to date.
So we'll go to the first question, or the first issue, which you are asked to address yourself to. And I wish to refer the witness, Honorable Speaker, to our bundle 8 of our documents. Can you identify the document at page 3 of that document?
Yes, I can identify. This is a letter that we did to the Clerk of the National Assembly on 23rd September 2024. It was responding to a letter that we received from the National Assembly requesting us to furnish the National Assembly with information on the investigation that we conducted on the long-lasting insecticide nets, and to indicate in our responses any outcome or status of the investigation that we did conduct.
So your letter in that volume relates to procurement of certain items at KEMSA. Am I correct?
You are correct.
You have appraised the Senate, the National Assembly in that letter. Would you appraise the Senate on its contents?
The content is the procurement of long-lasting insecticides by KEMSA. This was in the year 2023, and the Commission, in its functions, either it conducts investigation on its own motion or at the instigation of other parties. For this particular investigation, we did receive a letter from the CS, who was then in charge of the Ministry of Health, indicating that there were certain irregularities in a procurement of insecticide nets by the KEMSA, and the CS then wanted us to conduct investigation and find out whether certain procurement irregularities did take place. And from that, we actually did carry out investigation, and the outcome of the investigation so far is already reflected in the letter that we have provided.
And what was the outcome of the investigations, Mr. Mahmood?
There were serious procurement challenges that affected that particular tender. The major one was change of specifications to suit a company called Shobika Impex Limited, which was having which had a local agent by the name Crystal Kenya Limited that had the sole responsibility, or rather the sole function, to provide certain mosquitoes that had certain chemicals. So basically what the investigation concluded is that there are two types of chemicals that were used on these particular nets. If I may read one of them, one is called Synergist Piperolin Putoxide, PBO, long-lasting insecticides nets, while the other one is pyrethroid, long-lasting insecticide nets. So this company had the sole distribution rights on this particular chemical called PPO. And in totality, from the investigation, we realized that the PS at that particular time did write to the CEO of KEMSA, instigating, or rather compelling the CEO of KEMSA to change the specifications so that it can fit the chemical that was to be provided by Shobika Impex Limited, whose local agent was Crystal Kenya Limited. Basically, that was the starting point. The other problem was that there was when the tender was to close on 23rd, the company, this is Shobika Impex Limited, at that particular time wanted to have a bid bond introduced into the documents, into the tender documents. Yet we all know that in procurement, the tender document, the bid bond is supposed to be part of the tender document. They're supposed to be delivered together. But in this circumstance, the bid bond was delivered by hand to the CEO's office on 23rd, when the tender was supposed to close. So they had to find a way of extending the period of closure up to 10th of the next month of March, so that that particular bid bond, which had issues, can now be factored in, or rather regularized, and so that this company called Shobika could benefit out of that particular extension. Of course, there are many other issues. Like, we also realized that at the end of when the tender was discontinued, for example, there is a company called Tianjin Yorkol International Trading Company that was among the bidders that initially bidded for this particular tender. They were disqualified on a fact that they were not authorized by a manufacturer. This company had provided sufficient evidence and proof that they're actually manufacturers. So a company that is a manufacturer was disqualified on the ground that they did not provide authorization from a manufacturer, yet they are actually manufacturers. So those are some of the challenges that the tender had. And
at the end of it all, what became of this tender?
At the end of what happened is, after the technical committee of of the KEMSA did recommend Shopika to be awarded the tender, because this tender was actually was being financed by Global Fund. So the agreement was, after the tender evaluation committee's report is done, that report is to be handed over to Global Fund, the financiers. So when that report was surrendered or handed over to the Global Fund realized...
You said the evaluation committee of KEMSA
yes,
made a recommendation that Shopika be awarded.
That was the finding. That was the
finding of KEMSA.
That was the recommendation by the technical committee.
What happened next?
What happened is Global Fund decided to terminate the tender and asked an internal firm, or rather an internal organization called Wombo.org, which is the procuring arm of Global Fund, to do the procurement. And eventually, one of the companies that were actually disqualified because they were not authorized by a manufacturer ended up winning that tender, together with another firm called A to Z Textile Mills Limited. So those were the eventual winners, but that was after the termination of the recommendation by the technical committee of KEMSA.
So, just to clarify to the Senate, a company which had been disqualified by KEMSA ended up being the supplier.
That is correct.
Following the process which was undertaken by Global Fund.
That is correct.
Okay. What became of the bid bond?
Well, when we were investigating this, when the investigation was ongoing, we collected all the bid bonds of the firms that actually bidded, so that not only the bid bonds, but all the documents that related to the tender, so that we could evaluate and record statements. Now, the one that had issues was this one for Shopika. But when the tender was terminated, ordinarily, there would be no need to hold onto tenders or onto documents submitted by the tenderers, and they're usually returned. But for this particular one, because it was a questioned document, the CEO of KEMSA wrote to the EACC requesting for that document to be handed over. And eventually we did hand over the document to him after recommending disciplinary action against all the officers who were involved in the tendering process, starting with the CEO, the technical committee members, the head of procurement entity. For this particular document, we have a certified copy, which we collected in case there would be need to reopen the investigation, because there could have been other offenses that could come out of the investigation.
Did you hand over the bid bonds for the other companies which had participated in this?
They were returned to KEMSA.
They were returned to KEMSA.
Yeah.
Let's go to the second issue, which was identified in your invite, and probably we should start with the third one, which relates to conflict of interest by state officers and public officers. You are a long-serving officer of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. I suppose you are familiar with conflict of interest in terms of the constitutional, statutory, and regulatory procedures. Would you appraise the Senate on that aspect?
Okay, thank you. So conflict of interest is actually addressed under Section 16 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, and it clearly states that a state officer or a public officer shall use the best efforts to avoid being in a situation where personal interests conflict or appear to conflict with the state officers or public officers' official duties. Now, when we talk of personal interest, we look at subsection 6, which explains or rather indicates that personal interest includes interest of spouse, child, business associates, agents, or any other matter in which the state officer or public officer has a direct or indirect pecuniary interest. Basically, in practice, what happens is we also have the regulation, which is the subsidiary law of that particular act. If we look at the conflict of interest, that particular part 3 of the leadership and integrity regulations clearly specifies how conflict of interest are supposed to be dealt with by public officers.
And in summary, how are state officers to deal with questions of conflict?
All public institutions are actually required to maintain a conflict of interest registers, which can be inspected by individuals upon application. That is the starting point. If, for example, a public officer or a state officer feels that he is conflicted, he is supposed to declare the conflict in that particular register. And you know, the commission also has a role in that the commission is actually mandated to enforce and implement the Leadership and Integrity Act together with the regulations.
Thank you, Mr. Mahmood. And did you say, did I hear you correctly say, that conflict of interest extends to children, spouses, and business associates? Did I hear you correctly?
That is correct. That is subsection 6, section 16.
Let's go to the third issue in view of time, which is in relation to gifts.
Okay, gifts. If you look at section 14 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, together with section 5 of the regulations of the same act, it is clearly indicated that gifts received by a public officer is a donation to the state. That is what regulation 5 indicates. If you go down there, you will also see that a state officer or public officer who receives a gift whose value exceeds 20,000 Kenya shillings shall, within 48 hours of reporting to the office, surrender it to the public entity in which the officer is employed. It also goes further in subsection 4 to indicate that a state officer or a public officer who receives a gift in terms of this regulation shall, irrespective of the monetary value of the gift, declare the gift received to public entity which the public officer represents. Finally,
all gifts are supposed to be declared regardless of its monetary value.
Yeah, maybe, yes, that is correct. But what I maybe should have mentioned is that public officers and state officers are barred to receive any monetary gift. So here we are dealing with gifts that are not non-monetary. For monetary, they are barred, or rather we are barred from receiving any monetary gift. But yeah, so this.
And in the same manner, with respect to conflict of interest, we have a register of conflict of interest. Do we have a register of gifts?
Yes, we have a register of benefits in each and every public agency where officers who receive gifts are supposed to declare immediately, and we have indicated in 48 hours. And what I would also wish to mention is that
what is the role of the Commission in relation to gifts?
Okay. Yeah, now if you look at subsection 9 of the regulations, you will see that a public entity shall, at the close of every financial year, furnish the Commission with a report specifying and all the gifts, any gift the entity intends to dispose of, all that. And then subsection 3, of course, talks about report. The report under paragraph 1 shall be submitted to the Commission within 30 days after the close of the financial year.
So just so that we can close on that, every financial year, the Commission is supposed to receive the registers of gifts from all state entities.
That is correct.
For your record.
Yeah.
Have you received the register of gifts from the office of the Deputy President?
Not to my knowledge.
Not to your knowledge. That will be all, Mr. Speaker.
Counsel for the Deputy President, you may now proceed to cross-examine the witness.
Thank you very kindly, Mr. Speaker, sir. I'll be very brief with you. You did receive the summons this morning, yes?
I received the summons yesterday afternoon.
And you had to come and testify in respect to what aspect in the motion of impeachment?
There were 3 items which I listed.
Kindly grab your notice of impeachment, the motion.
The motion.
Yeah, the motion of impeachment at volume 1 of the National Assembly.
If you insist.
And as you do so, kindly again repeat or state the thematic areas you are supposed to testify in respect to.
So let me start off by looking at the summons which I received yesterday. So the first one, the investigation of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission of tender. The number is given there.
Thank you. Now let's go to that particular tender. What is agreement in the notice of motion with respect to that tender? What is the mover of the motion aggrieved with?
Which page?
In respect to the tender you are testifying.
Which page?
What is the mover of the motion aggrieved with in respect to this tender of KEMSA? It's a simple question. You don't need to refer.
But I need to refer to the document, isn't it? So that I can read the exact.
It's okay, you can be led by your counsel.
Yeah.
You know the motion better than the witness who's been brought to prison on a particular aspect. You can just take him there so that
Let's go to...
we save on time.
Just tell me the page, I'll be able to...
You page 24?
Page 24.
Yes.
Page 24.
You reckon that the mover is aggrieved by indicating that the Deputy President bullied him and exerted unnecessary pressure in respect to this tender, correct?
As per the document, yes.
That is the position, correct?
That is what is captured here, but that is not part of my evidence.
That is not part of your evidence.
Yeah.
Does your evidence relate to the notice of motion, to the notice of impeachment before this assembly?
It does, but
is there a complaint in the notice of impeachment that relates to conflict of interest that you know of?
And so what I would really request you, let us deal with my evidence.
Yes,
don't take me to the evidence.
We are dealing with it. Is there a complaint that relates to conflict of interest in the notice of motion? If yes, kindly point it out for the assembly to note.
No, I wouldn't know because I haven't gone through the whole...
You have not gone through the motion.
The whole motion haven't.
Is there a complaint that relates to gifts and how gifts must be dealt with?
I want to...
you know or you do not know, Mr. Witness?
I do not know.
You do not know?
Yes.
Now, in respect to this tender, are you aware that this Senate sat and conducted an independent investigation in that respect?
I'm not even aware.
Are you aware?
I'm only aware of the investigation EACC conducted.
Yeah. So in respect to this motion that is before the assembly, what investigation did you conduct that relates to the gift in this assembly?
I was requested to talk about...
We are talking about the notice of impeachment before the assembly, Mr. Witness.
I'm referring to the summons that I was given by this House.
And your summons must relate to the proceedings, correct?
I'm not the originator of the summons. How would I know how it relates? I will confine myself to the summons. And there are 3 issues I was to address. One of them is gifts.
How many companies bidded in that particular process?
I think there were about 17.
There were about 17.
Yes.
Did all the bids pass?
Pass in terms of award.
Yes.
Finally, the award was given to two companies.
Yes. Which companies were they?
Let me get the names. Yeah, the two companies that eventually won after the Global Fund conducted their own tender.
Yes.
One is called Tianjin Yerkol International Trading Company Limited.
Witness. Yes.
The other one is A to Z.
Do you know what led to the cancellation of the tender?
I know.
Yes, what led to the cancellation of the tender?
It was direct favorism to Shobika.
It was direct favorism to Shobika.
And you know...
Please get hold of the volume 3 of the documents by the Deputy President.
Sorry?
You get hold of volume 3.
Council, you may assist me.
Volume 3 of our bundle of documents. And as soon as you get it, you go to page 221. Volume 3, page 221, Mr. Witness.
Just a minute.
And as soon as you grab it, you go to paragraph 100.
Which page?
Page 221.
221.
Paragraph 100. Volume 3.
221, just 1 minute.
Let me assist you with my bundle because we want to save time. Page 221.
Which
Look
paragraph?
at paragraph 100.
Paragraph 100. Yes, I'm there.
Yes, paragraph 100.
I'm there.
Yes, can you read what the report indicates?
In its report, dated 25th April 2023, Global Fund noted that KEMSA had failed to apply the evaluation criteria consistently to all bidders and that none of the bidders met the minimum requirements.
So what is indicated that none of the bidders met the minimum requirement? Yes. Let's go to page 221, 222.
Now,
22.
220.
At paragraph 106.
222.
And again, read it loudly.
Notwithstanding KEMSA's reservations, in a letter dated 4th May 2023, the Acting Director of Procurement recommended termination of the process. The CEO approved, and on 5th May 2023, the termination was communicated.
What was terminated?
The process.
The process of bidding, correct?
Yes.
Why was it terminated?
Now,
paragraph 100, Mr. Witness,
no,
paragraph
Counsel,
100.
Counsel, look.
You know, I am cross-examining you.
I will only deal with my evidence. I will not deal with the evidence of other institutions. The Senate is an independent institution. The EACC
that we know
conducted its own investigation. Please ask me questions related to the investigation.
Now, after making your statement, please read the reason why the termination was actuated at paragraph 100.
If you want me just to read for the sake of it, but I'm not owning this evidence. I'm only owning the evidence by EACC.
I didn't ask you to own it.
Yeah.
Witness, the council is asking you to read a certain paragraph.
Okay.
Just read it.
Guided.
Yes?
Which paragraph?
I have asked you to read paragraph 106, correct?
Yes.
About the terminations, correct?
Yes.
And I've asked you to state for the assembly the reasons why the terminations is being recommended, correct?
Yes.
And I've told you that that answer, you'll find it at page 221, paragraph 100, correct?
Correct.
And that the bidding was terminated because the bids failed to meet the minimal requirements, correct?
Correct.
And therefore, the cancellation was not as a result of your alleged favorism, correct?
That is not my evidence. My evidence is
yes, I know.
It was clear favorism.
Clear favorism. Yeah. Look at paragraph 226. Sorry, page 226.
226. I'm there.
Yes. Look at paragraph 136.
I'm there.
Yeah. Read paragraph 136.
In late April 2023, he learned from the Global Fund.
Who is this learning from Global Funds?
Oh, you just took me there straight.
Yeah, look at paragraph 225 so that we can get to know who is learning.
235 or 2?
Yeah, 225.
225.
That is the evidence by one Dr. Andrew Mulwa, acting CEO KEMSA, correct?
Now, 225, 125, if you...
225.
220.
Up here.
Which paragraph?
Up here.
Yeah, submissions by Dr. Andrew Mulwa, acting
Yes.
CEO.
So what is he saying now at paragraph 136?
136, in April 2023, he learned from Global Fund pre-award review report that the long-lasting insecticide nets tender was to be cancelled on account of inconsistencies in the bid evaluation.
Yes?
Yes.
So why was it cancelled?
The issue would be who caused the bid.
No, it's not who caused. We are looking at the report. What does it indicate at that paragraph, the issues of the cancellation?
Paragraph 136?
Yes.
On account of
It
inconsistencies.
speaks to the fact that the bid or the tender was cancelled, correct?
It does, yes.
And it speaks to the reason that it was cancelled on the basis or on the reason of inconsistency, correct?
Correct.
And therefore your testimony that it was a result of favorism does not sit well with the evidence contained at paragraph 136 of the bundle, correct?
This, my evidence.
No, I just want you to limit yourself to that paragraph vis-a-vis what you stated. That the reason for the cancellation was the inconsistency, Mr. Witness, yes?
Inconsistencies, yes, but
Thank you. Let's go on.
How is the inconsistency?
Let us go
How
to
does
that
it
one. You
arise?
shall explain in another forum, not here.
Yeah. Continue.
Let's go to paragraph 230, to page 230.
Page 230.
Yes?
Which paragraph?
230.
Which paragraph?
Paragraph G.
G, yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Can you read it out?
At the evaluation stage, the audit team established that only 2 bidders passed the preliminary evaluation and proceeded to the technical evaluation, that is bidder number 3, Tianjin and Coal International.
Which two companies passed?
As per this one, Tianjin Coal
Yes?
International,
Yes?
bidder number 7,
Yes?
Premier Movers Limited, contrary to evaluation committee.
Is Shobika part of those bidders?
No, it's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
Look at page 231 again, paragraph J.
231.
Page 231, paragraph J.
Paragraph J, yes.
Yes? Read J.
The termination of the tender complied with Section 62 of the Act and Global Fund guidelines.
So the termination was lawful, correct? And it complied with the Procurement Act, correct or not correct, Mr. Witness?
Correct.
Correct. Let us look at page 246.
246.
Yes, page 246, paragraph 213.
246.
Paragraph 213.
213, yes.
Yes, what is the report indicating?
Following the cancellation of the tender at KEMSA, TNT placed an order of 10.2 million nets on wombo.org website, and procurement was subsequently done in line with the technical specifications provided by the Ministry of Health.
So the nets were eventually procured, correct or not correct?
They were eventually procured.
And it took the interventions of global funds to procure them, correct?
Correct.
Interventions of global funds to procure them, correct?
Correct.
And that you look at paragraph 215, yes?
Yes, I'm there.
Read it out.
Further, prior to the cancellation of the tender, differences arose between Global Fund team and the immediate former PS, State Department of Public Health and Professional Standards with regard to the operations and ongoing at the DNPM Ministry of Health. It was noted that these differences may have played a role in the final decision by Global Funds to terminate the tender processes, correct? Correct.
Did that have anything to do with the Deputy President? According to the statement you've just read?
It
has nothing to do with the Deputy President. Let us now finally answer your issues at page 271.
271. Page.
Yes, and read loudly paragraph 24 and 25.
271. Paragraph
24 and 25.
The committee, that is 24, the committee observed that following the termination of the tender, while there was no apparent loss of public funds.
Just read it loudly.
The committee observed that following the termination of the tender, while there was no apparent loss of public funds,
there was no apparent loss of.
KEMSA lost USD 455,589 for approximately 70 million in procurement fees.
The report from the Senate indicates there was no loss of public funds, correct?
Let me read this paragraph again so that we are
yes,
together.
Proceed.
The committee observed that following the termination of the tender, while there was no apparent loss of public funds,
just put a full stop there. Pause. What has the committee observed?
You don't want me to finish the sentence?
Yes, I'll lead you to that other part.
Okay.
What has the committee observed?
No public funds lost.
No public funds lost. In your investigations, separate investigations that you conducted, did you arrive at the same conclusion? Did you or did you not?
There was no public funds lost.
There was no public funds lost.
Terminated.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So let us look at paragraph 25.
25, yes.
Yes, read it out.
The committee observed that the cancellation of the tender appeared to have been influenced by Global Fund's apparent effort to exert significant control over the procurement process from the beginning to the end.
Thank you. What occasioned the cancellation?
The cancellation of the tender appeared to have been influenced by the Global Fund's apparent effort to exert significant control over the procurement process.
Is there any evidence indicating that the deputy president was involved in that process?
No.
Was his companies involved?
No.
Was his family involved?
No.
Any evidence that you have before this assembly to that respect?
The evidence I have.
No. Any evidence that any of them were involved?
On this report? Or my evidence?
This report.
On this report, no, but my evidence is.
Let us go to the next paragraph, yeah? This concluded that Global Funds teams based in Geneva, Switzerland, making multiple trips to Nairobi, Kenya, at least 3 times during the relevant period, raising concerns about the autonomy and the ability of the local government. Just read it out.
That is paragraph 25?
Yes, the same paragraph.
Okay. The committee observed that cancellation of the tender appeared to have been influenced by Global Fund's apparent effort to exert significant control over the procurement process from the beginning to the end. This included Global Fund team based in Geneva, Switzerland, making multiple trips to Nairobi, Kenya, at least 3 times during the relevant period, raising concerns about the autonomy and the ability of the local government agencies.
The autonomy of the organization, correct? Let us look at paragraph 222 again. Sorry, page 222. Page 222, Mr. Witness.
222.
And while you get there, you look at paragraph 107. Page 222.
Paragraph?
107. Would you kindly read it out?
107. It is further her testimony that, I don't know whose testimony this is.
Yeah, that is a testimony of the submissions of Terry Ramathani, immediate CEO.
Okay.
Yes, you find that at page 219. Yeah, but now I'm interested in paragraph 107.
It was further her testimony that the authority had struggled to maintain its autonomy.
The authority has struggled to maintain its autonomy, yes.
Owing to the undue influence.
Owing to undue interference.
Interference by the Cabinet Secretary.
From the Cabinet Secretary for Health, yes. Post. Who was the Cabinet Secretary for Health at the time in issue?
Oh, we can check that one.
Yeah, who was? This regime has only had two Cabinet Secretaries.
Let me just confirm from my records here. Because she did a letter to us, so.
Counsel General.
The name is
just hold on, witness.
This is
Wafula. Hold on, Mr. Abdi.
Yes, sir.
Counsel General.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
I thought when you're cross-examining a witness, you cross-examine on the evidence they've given. You totally abandoned his evidence.
Those are not the rule of cross-examination, Mr. Speaker, sir. I respectfully beg
Because,
to
you know,
differ.
the reason why the witness has difficulties.
He doesn't have difficulties in the
No,
speaker.
he has. He has.
No,
I've seen
I am asking him to read. Okay, I will be guided.
Proceed, if that's your line of argument, proceed.
Thank you for giving the latitude. Who was the cabinet secretary at the time the bid was being cancelled?
She's Nakumicha
Nakumicha.
S. Wafula.
Has the Senate found that what occasioned all these cancellations of these tenders was the loss of the autonomy of KEMSA?
I would want to confine myself to my evidence.
I know, at this
I
time we
wouldn't
wish
want to talk about the evidence.
Okay, then read that paragraph. Just read for me.
Which paragraph?
Paragraph 107. And I want to finish up with you.
Okay. Paragraph 107. It was further her testimony that the authority had struggled to maintain its autonomy owing to the undue interference from the Cabinet Secretary for Health. For instance, she stated that on 22nd March 2023, she received a note from the CS asking her to assist a certain Mr. Ken Ogola.
She received a note from the CS asking the CEO to assist one Ken Ogola, correct?
As per this statement, yes.
Have you seen any company associated with the Deputy President being accused of these interferences?
No.
Let's go to your bundle as I finish up, volume 8A. Any evidence from volume 8A that you've brought that links that links the Deputy President's company to the cancellation of the tender?
Yes.
Look at your paragraph, look at your letter dated 23rd September. Your letter dated 23rd September, and look at the recommendations.
Yes.
What are you recommending?
We are recommending for admin action against the KEMSA officials and the Ministry of Health officials. There is a pending issue.
It's okay. I want you to limit yourself to what I am asking in that respect.
Yes.
You are recommending administrative action to KEMSA officials.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct. But the file is
In
still
that particular paragraph, any recommendation for the prosecution of the company in issue? In that particular paragraph?
the file is still open.
It's
but
okay.
As per these recommendations,
You
no.
brought the documents here. We are dealing with what you have brought, not what you have in the
Yes.
office.
Yes.
Any recommendation in respect of that company?
No.
Thank you. Let us go to a letter dated 21st August, correct?
Of my bundles?
Of your bundles.
By who?
The EACC bundles, the one that you're just looking at. Okay. Don't leave volume 8A. You can see the letter dated 21st August, correct?
Just a minute. I get the letter. 21st August, yes.
Yes. Can you see the recommendation at
Yes.
page 7?
Yes.
What are you recommending?
We are recommending for the investigation established that the Chief Executive Officer at KEMSA, Terry Ramadhani, failed to ensure compliance with the procurement processes and the law, contrary to Section 44 of the PPDA Act.
That Ramadhani was in breach of the law, correct?
Correct.
A person who is in breach of the law, what happens to him or her?
There are many ways of dealing with that. We can charge.
The law sanctions that act, correct?
Exactly.
Do you know what sanction was given to Terry?
I wouldn't know, but
Do you know that she is now currently the ambassador to New Delhi?
That was not our expectation. We
I know.
expected administrative action taken against the lady.
So, did any person, either the chief executive officer, report to you that he has received any intimidation, harassment, bullying from
No.
the office of the deputy president?
No.
Yeah?
No.
Did
Not-
you receive any
not
complaint?
Not to EACC.
Did you receive any complaint?
No.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Witness, finally, where do you place your evidence in these proceedings?
In these proceedings, I place my evidence on the conflict of interest bit.
Conflict of interest.
Which I said, personal interest.
It's okay that you said, and I understand the law.
Allow me to finish, please.
So show me in the notice of motion, I put it to you, that in the notice of motion, there is no charge as against the deputy president for conflict of interest. Does that surprise you, that there is no such a charge?
It doesn't.
Thank you. No further questions.
Counsel for the National Assembly, you may re-examine the witness.
Now, Mr. Witness, only one more question. Between your statement that you have made and the Senate's report, which one do you want us to rely on? Which one? There are only two options. It's either your report or the report by the Senate. Don't give me an explanation.
I can stand by my report.
So we disregard the report by the Senate, correct?
I didn't tell you that. I didn't say that.
We disregard the report by the Senate. Is that the contempt that you have for this House?
I can only stand by my evidence, which I can prove in any forum.
Has that report by the Senate indicated any investigations on the ground of favorism, conflict of interest, and gifts?
No, I haven't gone through the report, so I wouldn't want to
Council,
comment.
Thank you.
Are you done?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, but you're addressing me.
Are you done?
Yes, I am done.
Take your seat.
I'm most obliged.
Mr. Speaker, I believe I